roasted tomato, thyme, olive oil, mushroom risotto. That is good. Touch them. I'm just gonna finish them off with a little bit more salt. Et voila. One caramelized onion tart. Yeah. Whoa. And it's crisped up beautifully and the almonds look amazing too. Oh my god, yes. Hey, how you doing? I hope you're all doing really well. Welcome back to another midweek meals video. You guys seem to really be enjoying them and I absolutely love filming them. So I'm filming another one. This week's is a little bit different because I've got a little bit of help from Mr. Jamie Oliver. I recently purchased this cookbook, maybe 2 vlogs ago. I'll link that down below if I remember in the edit, where I bought this from Waitrose, and it's a Jamie Oliver cookbook specifically for veg. So I had a quick flick through and I've chose 3 recipes this week because we're only in for 3 dinners this week, myself and Zara. So we nipped to Aldi and this is gonna be a £20 for 2 for 3 meals. So that works out at £10 each for 3 meals. So it's like £3.55 per meal, per dinner, with leftovers, which is awesome. I really hope you enjoy it. I'm gonna tell you the recipes that we've selected, but first, I have something to do. So I fixed the clock. I know it was bothering quite a few of you. It's been on my to-do list for quite some time. I just always forget to purchase batteries, but it's fixed. We're all good to go. Right. Okay, so recipe number 1 is going to be a sticky onion tart. I just absolutely love the idea of this. As you know, I'm a massive fan of like caramelized glazed onions. So this sounds amazing. Like a really, really easy list of ingredients. So that's recipe number 1. Recipe number 2, which is actually what we're cooking this evening, is a roasted tomato risotto with sweet fennel, crispy thyme, garlic and vermouth. The only thing that we actually don't have is the fennel, but we're going to put mushrooms in it instead. I know it's not really like the same, but it'll work. It's good. We're good. And then the last recipe that we're gonna do is a greens mac and cheese. This just looked really, really nice and kind of like a healthier alternative to the classic mac and cheese, which we all know I absolutely love. So yeah, they're the recipes that we're gonna be doing this week, but this is the one that we're doing this evening. So I'm just gonna grab all the ingredients and run you guys through how you make it. So this recipe actually cooks for 6 people, which is brilliant if you've got like a large family or if you've got like friends coming around. However, as much as myself and Zara do enjoy risotto, we definitely can't eat 6 portions of it. So I'm gonna just be half in this recipe. I roughly know the measurements when it comes to risotto. Plus we're customizing it slightly. We aren't using fennel, we're just gonna use an onion, and we're gonna add some mushrooms as well. So we're kind of changing it somewhat, but we're gonna use the basis of Jamie's recipe. So to serve 3 people, you're gonna need 225 grams of risotto rice. If you do want to do 6, I'm going to link the recipe down below so you can follow it exactly. So the recipe says use 6 tomatoes. I'm going to roast 4, so do 2 for dinner today and then 2 for lunch, so 1 for Zara, 1 for me. 1 white onion, a whole bulb of garlic. Yes, I'm all about that, Jamie. Some fresh thyme, some Parmesan cheese. This is actually Grana Padano. We've got some stock cubes that we're going to use. They're just vegetable stock cubes. We need 1.2 litres of that, so around 600 ml. Some chopped mushrooms. Obviously this isn't in the recipe, but we're adding it anyway. And a dry white wine. And a bit of olive oil. And that's it. Right. Let's get cooking. I am so excited about this. Literally looks amazing. Okay, so first up is what you want to do is grab your tomatoes, give them a wash if you haven't already, and you just want to take out the center of the tomato. So you can use like, I guess an apple core if you have one, or just basically just so you can take the like middle seeded bit out. And then what you want to do is just place that into a dish that's going to fit them quite snug. So I'm going to roast 4 tomatoes. Like I said, you can do this for 6 if you prefer, but obviously me and Zara are going to take some lunches. So that's perfect, so that's 2. And you're going to want to preheat your oven to 200 degrees or 180 fan and leave these to roast for about, I'd say a solid hour. Jamie says 45 minutes to an hour, but these are quite chunky tomatoes, so I'd say an hour for these guys. Just really tightly pack them in, make sure they fit. Or we're in. And then you need a whole bulb of garlic. I'm just going to take the root off slightly just so it doesn't catch, but still keeping it intact. There we go. So we have a whole bulb of garlic. I'm going to chuck that in as well. Then we're going to add some fresh thyme. So just sprinkle that over the top. You can trim this, but I think the leaves just work just as well. So yeah, just add some fresh thyme in there too. Already got some amazing flavors going on. Oh my god, this is one of my favorite smells. Thyme just reminds me, sorry, I'm like crouching down. Thyme just reminds me It's just like home. It just smells like good home cooked food, you know. Although I am saving to get more of it all over the countertop than I am actually in the dish. Okay, so once they're all in the dish, you just want to grab yourself some rock salt and just season the tomatoes. Tomatoes just love salt, so literally just pile that in. Don't go too crazy, but enough to get it well seasoned. So just going to put butter in. And then we just got this recently in Aldi. It's some really nice fancy extra virgin olive oil. So you just need a good drizzle of that. And then that needs to go into an oven for around an hour. Okay, so while the tomatoes are roasting in the oven, it's a really good idea now just kind of like get the prep going. So I usually use this time whenever I'm making a risotto just to get everything good to go into the pan, because once you start softening your onions, it's kind of just like a rapid spiral from there. So you need to add your garlic, and then you add your mushrooms, and your rice, and your wine, and your stock. So it's kind of like all in concession. So I feel like as prepared as you possibly can be for the dish you like. So we're just gonna finely chop a brown onion. And of course, it wouldn't be a midweek meals cooking with Luke if I didn't help myself to a very small, modest glass of white wine. I mean, yeah, that'll do. I do need some for cooking, so it would only seem right after a long Wednesday to pour yourself a glass of white wine. Cheers, guys. Yeah, great thing about this tea as well is you can just leave it to do its thing while you go and totter around. Oh, it's a very clear wine. Totter around the house. You can come back to it, so you're good to go. So you're gonna need two fairly large pans when you're making this risotto. One for the vegetable stock and then one for the actual risotto. I love this pan, it's huge. It's got a really heavy bottom. It retains the heat pretty well. So they're the two pans that we're using. I'm just gonna grab 2 stock cubes. You can of course make your own vegetable stock if you do prefer. I just find these super easy to use. Yeah, we're gonna add 2 stock cubes to a pan. Add some water. We need about 650 ml, but obviously we're making a little bit more. So I'd say about a litre of stock. It's always better to have more stock than less. Then just need to bring that to like a warm simmer. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so into a pan, I'm gonna add a hefty knob. Wow, a knob of butter. And we need to just pop that on a really low heat just to get it going. And I'm gonna add some boiling water into this pan from the kettle. So water's gonna go into this pan and we're just gonna bring the stock up to a simmer. We're gonna add the onion into the pan and get this nice and soft for around 10 minutes. And then I need to check on the tomatoes. Yes! Let's give these a little check and a rotate. Okay, so the onions are gonna go into the pan and then need to saute it for 10 minutes. So the onions have now softened. I'm going to add around a cupful of arborio risotto rice because, in fact I'm just going to add the whole bag because we absolutely love risotto and we will take it for lunch tomorrow. And what you need to do is just coat this in the oil and butter and essentially start to cook it. And then you add your vermouth, or as we're using, just a nice dry white wine and cook off all of the alcohol. Okay, now it's time to add the white wine. It's about 125 ml, so I just usually do like a good old glug. And you want it to bubble and sizzle like this. You just want to cook off all of the alcohol, but it just adds the most amazing flavour to the rice. And then we're going to add some chopped chestnut mushrooms in there as well. Okay, so progress with the risotto is looking fantastic. With the risotto, it's just all about patience. So the minute you add a ladle full of stock, just give it a good stir and keep the heat going. Otherwise it gets stuck, and the minute it all absorbs, just add more. The tomatoes have had about 40 minutes in the oven and they're looking fantastic, and they've let off this amazing like thyme juice which you actually spoon on top. And then this is the roasted garlic, and basically what you just want to do is press it out of its shells, as you can see there. And this is the most sweet, amazing garlic. It loses all of its heat and acidity, and you just want to add a little bit of that into the risotto and then save some cloves to top the actual dish once you've finished as well. Okay, so now is the time to add your cheese. It just needs to be hard cheese, so you can have either Parmesan, or as we're doing the Grande Padano, which is essentially just acts as like a seasoning and makes it nice and creamy. I'm always liberal with a bit of hard cheese because I absolutely love it. We want to save some for the topping as well, so add a little bit and then you can always add more if you need to. It's perfect. I've just popped the tomatoes back into the oven just to give them a nice little warm through. Let's give this a taste and see if it needs any seasoning. It is one of life's joys. So if you've done it correctly and patiently, you should have a nice, creamy, silky smooth risotto. So it's ready to plate up. I've just finished it off with a small little bit of butter, just and stirred that through just to make it go nice and creamy and glossy. I wouldn't say risotto is probably one of the healthiest dishes, but it sure is one of the tastiest. And then what you want to do is just make a little well in the middle because the tomatoes are going to go in now. Just dump that straight into the middle of the dish. And then the tomato juice, you just want to drizzle that around the outside just to give a nice little well. And do that equally on both, like so. Finish it off with a nice fresh grating of your Parmesan or vegetarian cheese, which looks so good. Oh my goodness. Grind the black pepper. And you can finish it with a bit more olive oil if you like, but I think we're good. Yeah, so you just want to grab a little garlic clove. This is a completely optional step if you guys aren't really a massive fan of garlic, but me and Zara absolutely love it. You can just freshen up the dish with a little bit more of the roasted garlic. And a little bit more here. And this is Mr. Jamie Oliver's roasted tomato, thyme, olive oil, and mushroom risotto. Easy as that. Right, I'm gonna go in for the taste test. Do you like it?
You're not ready.
Is it good? Yeah? Mm-hmm. The tomato, mushroom, garlic, it's just all of the good things that we like.
How tasty is that?
That is good. Oh my god. Okay, so it's day 2 and we have another recipe coming. Tonight's dinner I am so hyped about. Literally, I've been looking forward to this all week. Today is Thursday. We're making Jamie's glazed onion tart. Oh my god, yes. Let me open the book, show you the recipe, give you guys a rundown. Today's been really mad. I actually had lunch like an hour ago. I love that the clock now works. It's 6 o'clock. I had lunch, actually no, I had lunch around 3:20, 3:30. So I'm not like massively hungry, but Zara's working late this evening. So I said I'd cover tea, and the tart's a really great idea because you can kind of cook it, and then if you've got people coming in late or whatever, if you've maybe got kids coming back at different times, you can just pop it back in the oven, warm it through, and it's good to go. Okay, so for this recipe, you're gonna need 4 onions. We're gonna use 5 because these are quite small. You're gonna need 8 cloves of garlic, which I guess is the equivalent of a bulb. You are going to need 1 pack of puff pastry. Yeah, 1 pack of puff pastry. We need some thyme, some brown sugar, which I very nicely decanted in my new jar. Very happy with that. I am really a Virgo at heart. We need some apple cider vinegar, which is here, and some unsalted butter. And that is literally it. So we're going to be serving the tart with a little bit of side salad and some steamed new potatoes. So we need to make the tart first, and then we can crack on with the sides. So let's get going. Okay, so oven needs to go on to 220 degrees, which is there. Okay, so first step is to peel the onions and cut them in half. So bring on potatoes. Okay, so you want to turn your hob on and grab yourself a non-stick pan that you can use in the oven. I'm using a cast iron skillet that my mum got me ages ago actually, and I love this pan, it's so good. You want to grab about 50 grams of unsalted butter and pop that into your oven-proof pan and just let that melt down. And then while that's melting, you just want to grab some thyme stalks, around, I'd say a good handful, maybe like that much. The recipe does call for bay leaves as well, but I actually couldn't manage to get my hands on any, so we're just gonna have to use thyme for this evening, but I'm sure it'll be just as delicious. It's always important to remember as well, if you are using a cast iron pan for this, just to use some form of heat protection on your hands, because this can get really hot. So we need to add 2 tablespoons of soft brown sugar, so we're gonna do 1 straight into the butter, 2 straight in. Then we need to add 4 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, so 1, 2, and then you want to grab your handful of fresh thyme leaves, so you just pop that in. That's the one thing about using a cast iron skillet, is that it can get hot very quickly. Now it is time to add your onions. So you just want to place the onions into the pan, being very, very careful because it's going to be really hot, and you want to place them cut side down. So when the pastry goes on top, you turn this out. It's kind of like a tart tatin where the cut sides facing upwards. And the recipe says to just add about 100 ml of water, which is roughly about, I'd say about there, maybe a little bit more. And you just want to season this with some salt and pepper. So we've got some rock salt here. I'm just going to sprinkle some salt in, and then the pepper I'm going to have to put you guys down for 2 seconds. Pepper going in. Okay guys, so once you poured your water in, then you want to grab your garlic cloves and just segment them in where the gaps are, so they will boil down, so you just want to pop them in. I know this seems quite excessive, but whenever garlic roasts it goes super sweet, so you just drop them in where you can see the gaps, And then put one there as well. Perfect. And then you want to grab yourself a lid big enough to put on top. And then you want to cover it for around 10 minutes until all of that water evaporates and the onions start to go nice and like caramelized and molassesy. Okay, so while the onions are doing their thing, I was going to just steam these potatoes, like boil them, but I thought, yeah, it's a bit boring. Why not just shut up? I've got the time. So I'm going to do some Hasselback potatoes. And I know this is like a pretty common thing, but of those of you who don't know what Hasselback potatoes are, they're essentially like a really small, you can do them with regular potatoes, but I always do them with new potatoes or the smaller variety. You just make like small little incisions into the potato and then you roast them. So you start them on the hob and then you pop them in the oven, and because they've got the incisions, they like puff out and all of the flavour goes in. Oh, they're so good. I'm just going to teach you like a super easy hack. Like I say, I know a lot of people know how to do this, but basically if you grab yourself a wooden spoon that's quite deep, so this one's quite deep, and then you pop the spoon in. So when you cut, if you cut down into the depth of the potato, the actual depth of the spoon stops you going all the way through it. So you want to grab your potato and pop it in the spoon, and then you just slice down into the potato, and the depth of the spoon actually stops you going all the way through. Your potato just fans out like this, and then you just pop it in a roasting tin. So onion update, the water, the majority of it has evaporated, and now they are starting to go so sticky and molassesy. Obviously you still want some of that nice juice, so don't reduce it down too much. So once your potatoes are on a hob, use an oven-proof dish, something that you can definitely retain heat from. Add a little drizzle of olive oil, a good pinch of some rock salt. So just pop that in there, and then you can use some thyme as well, and basically just want to get these going, not for long at all, just so they can go nice and crispy, and then you want to bang them in the oven. Okay, so once you've got your pastry disc cut, bring your onions over. Oh my god, they're looking so good. And then you just want to basically cut your pastry case in and use a spoon and coax it into the pan. So you want to make sure those onions are covered beautifully. Being very careful with your hands, because obviously this is going to be a very, very hot pan. With the heat of the pan as well, it'll help the pastry melt ever so slightly, just so it goes more into the tin. Okay guys, that is good to go. So this needs to go into the oven for around 30 to 35 minutes until it's nice and golden brown on top. Potatoes are done, and this is what they end up looking like when the heat touches them. I'm just going to finish them off with a little bit more salt. These are my favourite things of all time ever. Right, so we're going to plate these up onto the dish. I'm not going to put too many on the plate because obviously, you know, I can take them for lunch. But I do have no restraint when it comes to potatoes. I think I was Irish in a former life. Amazing. Now it says you're supposed to turn it out onto a plate, so I'm going to do just that onto this board. One hand on, one pan that way. Give it a little jiggle. Et voila. One caramelised onion tart. How good does that look? Amazing!
That looks so good.
It's essentially like a tart tatin, but with onions instead. And garlic cloves.
I've never had a tart tatin.
Please do precautionary with the garlic cloves because they're going to be quite intense. There we are, love.
It's everything that we love in a dish.
In a dish, exactly. Oh, that's good.
Just reminded me of
The
garlic. The garlic bread from Zzz's.
Yeah.
In a pie.
I enjoy this thoroughly. Two very, very clear plates.
That's
and,
a first for me, actually.
Yeah, and a cheeky little leftover for lunch for Zara. Literally empty. That was so good. Okay, so this is everything you're gonna need. There's a lot of greens going on, which I'm kind of feeling. This is a greens mac and cheese, so I guess you could say it's the healthier alternative, but I mean, it's still pasta and cheese. Okay, so a quick run through of the ingredients. We're gonna need 1 large leek, 3 garlic cloves, so I've just got a bowl out of the cupboard, 400 grams of broccoli. The recipe says to use tender stem purple sprout and broccoli. We couldn't find any tender stem in Aldi, so we just got 2 regular broccoli florets. They'll be absolutely grand. You need 400 grams of that. You need 40 grams of unsalted butter. You need half a bunch of thyme, which is about 15 grams. 2 tablespoons of plain flour, which we have here. Then we need 1 litre, it says of semi-skim milk, but I'm just going to use oat milk to try and help balance out the dairy. 450 grams of dried macaroni, which might be a bit of a push, so I've got some penne as well, so I'm just going to mix that together. We've got 30 grams of Parmesan cheese, and then we need 100 grams of baby spinach, which I've just taken out of the bag and washed, and 50 grams of cheddar cheese. Actually, 50 grams of cheddar cheese to go inside, and then 100 grams to go on top, and then 50 grams of almonds. This is flaked almonds, but I'm just going to chop these up and toast them. So this one's quite a few ingredients. Some of them store cupboard, some of them you're gonna need fresh, but not a very expensive meal at all, and it should taste truly delicious. So let's get cracking. Okay, so into a large saucepan, ideally one with a really high side and a heavy bottom. You want to pop the heat on really, really low. So we're going to turn that right down and melt that down for a second, and then add in the leek, the chopped broccoli and the chopped garlic, and just saute that down for around 15 minutes on a medium low heat. Okay, so once everything is starting to fry lightly in a pan, you want to add your thyme. I had this around 5 minutes into the cooking time just because I don't want it to burn, but if it's on a lowish heat it should be pretty grand, so we'll just add the remainder. Okay, so once the broccoli and leeks have cooked out, you want to add 2 tablespoons of plain flour. This is just ordinary plain flour, you don't have to sieve this at all. So you want to do 1, 2, and then we're basically going to make a rough roux. So we just need to stir the flour to make sure it combines all of the veggies and kind of semi-cook this just so it doesn't really have any like floury taste once we add the milk and cheese. Obviously this is a really good idea just to make sure it's fully cooked before I add the milk. Okay, so I'm just going to add the milk in batches. I've already added 1 part in and I'm going to add another part. It's 800 ml of milk, so it's quite a lot actually, so that's 1 round. You need to grab some more. And you just want it to go nice and thick before you add the next round, otherwise it'll just go too watery. And then in this pan, I'm just going to pop some boiling water in, season it with some salt, and then pop the macaroni in. I don't have 450 grams, so I'm going to have to top it up with penne, but I'm sure it'll be good all the same. Oh, it's hot, by the way. So the roux is done. It smells incredible. Now what we need to do is add the 2 types of cheeses. We're going to do 125 grams of the cheddar, 30 grams of the parmesan, and leave the other 25 to sprinkle on top. I'm going to grate that in now. Into the pan, we are going to blend this. So I'm going to add all of this spinach. Actually, I've just washed this. So I was on gin and tonic duty this evening. That's what is doing behind me. And then grab the stick blender and just blend this up. If you do have a food liquidizer, I definitely recommend using that. But this works just the trick. So we're going to blend this up. So this is all blended. It isn't as smooth as it probably should be because we don't actually have a food liquidizer, so it's fine. I guess it'll just be a little bit more spinachy, which is okay. So you need to add the pasta into here, stir it all together and pop it into a baking dish. Okay, so the pasta's gone in. Like I say, we've done a mix of penne because we didn't have enough macaroni. Oh, a little bit left over. There's a nice little stir. Oh my god, that looks good. Very green. Okay, into the dish we go. Whoa! Okay, we may definitely, I mean, I love how I've said the word we. I have, how many does this serve? Oh.
6?
Yeah. Oopsies. Okay, I may have just made mac and cheese for 6 people. That's fine. So finish it off with some nice mature cheddar. You can of course use any cheese you like. If you are going to make this vegan, you can use vegan cheese by all means. So it's going to top it with a bit more broccoli, and these were supposed to be like the long stem florets, but it's just the regular broccoli, so we're just gonna pack it in and then sprinkle some freshly cut almonds on. I thought you actually toasted them, but the recipe says just put them on like this, and hopefully they won't catch and burn, so that's all good to go. This is definitely one of the healthier mac and cheeses I've ever made in my life, and hopefully it'll be good. Right, this needs to go into the oven for half an hour, so here we go. So the mac and cheese had about half an hour in the oven and it's crisped up beautifully, and the almonds look amazing too. I feel like they're going to give like the best crunch, and the broccoli looks fantastic. Having a cheeky little gin and tonic buddy because it is a Friday. Oh mama, that looks good! I enjoy that a lot. That is like quite a fresh mac and cheese, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So the one I cooked last time had like, yeah, that was naughty. But that had like blue cheese in it, caramelized jammy onions, pancetta. What else did I put in it? Creamy,
that was the best
cheddar
mac and cheese I have ever had and will ever have. Cream,
what were they called? Mini cheddars, as I was just saying. This is definitely a healthier mac and cheese for sure. It's very green, but I like it. It's quite fresh. Okay, so we are just sat on the sofa, got a cheeky little gin and tonic, finishing the week in style. January is nearly over, we're nearly there. And I really hope you have enjoyed this slight mini series. We've really enjoyed them. What was your favourite recipe? The onion tart, the greens mac and cheese, or the risotto?
Risotto.
I'd say risotto as well. That risotto was 10 out of 10 and I can only imagine it'd be even better with the fennel. So yeah, let me know if you're going to try any of the recipes, and if you do make any, as always, tag me on Instagram. I'd absolutely love to see them. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys very soon for a future video. Bye for now.